Hello guys, I'm Savvy and welcome back to another Kerbal Space Program video. In the last one, I did a rescue mission of a probe that was around Kerbin based on an Eve mission that went well but went wrong towards the end. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, I would recommend checking that out, which I'll leave at the end of the video here. But in this one, we're going to be taking a dive with a probe, well, not probe, well, I guess probe, rover, mainly a rover, to Duna. We're actually taking one to Duna here, and as you can see, I'm building it right here in the vehicle assembly building, which I know it probably would be easier if I did it in the plane hangar, but I decided to do it this way, which either way, I mean, it turned out to work. It worked out in the end because what I decided to do is put those wheels on and then I bring them down. I pull them down a little bit because I need to have more height. Because the mistakes that I've learned over the times that I've made rovers, especially from the ones in the videos that I've done before, which I'll link those at the end of this video as well, is the fact that the giant scanner arm gets in the way or it hits the ground because of how it's trying to turn. So I think raising it up a little bit, giving it a little bit of height actually works out. And we'll actually see later on to see if that actually does work or not. But the good thing is that I also add some other science stuff because the scanner arm's pretty heavy in the front, so I kind of wanted to build some other stuff in the back. So I decided to add like a little structural piece there and put up the the relay antenna. And then I also decided to use this radioisotope generator so that way our power is consistent. Instead of having to use solar panels, we use these to generate power over time. And I decided to put two of them in the back. I was trying to decide between like, do I want a large one, like one tall one, or do I want like a smaller one? And I saw the smaller ones. I'm like, oh, this will work, and I'll put those in the back, just to kind of do use as a counterweight, you know? And then as you saw before, I put a giant battery on the bottom so that way there's 1,000 power. So things could be transmitted back and forth, but since this is creative mode or sandbox mode, it doesn't really matter. But for this one, I also made a little bit of a mistake as well when making this vessel, at least the part underneath. I use a pretty big fuel tank compared to the rover there, and it was not. I mean, it looks cool and it looks like it's gonna work, but we run into some issues a little bit later. But you'll find out. We'll find out what issues they are. Also, I didn't even realize that I had the I didn't have it as single, and I was trying to put two of them at the same spot. That's why I'm like, why isn't this working? So then I covered this up with a fairing, and then I used a larger fairing there because I wanted to make sure that all of it's covered, and so that way I used like a larger staging for liquid fuel. And as usual, I actually have more than enough to get to where I need to go. And I've been enjoying using the engine plates lately because they're just really good. They're very convenient and they allow you to put more than one engine on the bottom. It just helps tremendously. So then I raise it up a little bit, and this bottom stage part, I was like, do I want to make it really tall, or would it be better if I made it a little bit wider and just shorter in the long run? Because look at that, I would have made that super tall. I was just like, you know what, this would look cool. And then probably do some asparagus staging on the side to make up for that. But I'm just like, no, no, it's not a good idea. Not a good idea. Also, I want to let you guys know about Duna in particular. So Duna specifically has an atmosphere of 45,000. It's much thinner than it is of Kerbin's. Kerbin's atmosphere is 70,000 meters high, while Duna's is 45. So that's 25,000 less that of Kerbin's atmospheric hike. Um, so you can actually go a lot lower in Duna's atmosphere, and you won't really take that much. You won't take any damage on your vessels or anything, and really, you don't even need to use really any heat shields as well, as long as what you're using isn't sensitive to strong, strong winds as you're falling in, um, or if you are going in much lower, let's say like 5,000 meters, or something, or 10,000, you might want to use a heat shield then. But if you're between 15 to 20,000, which is the 20,000, which is about half of the atmospheric height, you'll be fine. You won't need to use a heat shield for that. And as you can see in my build entirely, I just did not use heat shields at all. The only time that I had to do something was to retract the relay antenna because uh, not really the winds, but us falling as fast as we would be going through the atmosphere would um, cause the relay antenna to break apart. So it would be nice. It's just better to retract it. But the rocket's done, and I called it Dunified, which I think is a cool name. At least I think so. I'm really bad at names, but anyway, I decide to, give a little display there as we launch. Looking at that go, so beautiful, very, very beautiful. But we launch in the air, and we're only using our solid rocket fuel boosters because I rarely use solid rocket fuel boosters. I'm a Kerbal Space Program player that just decides to, you know, use only asparagus staging, and that's about it. Like I need to I need to give more love to solid rocket fuel boosters, just because they're actually very, very convenient, especially with the ones that are part of like parts mods and uh, I mean, even the large ones for like large craft that we built here. But we use those solid rocket fuel boosters, and then we're just boosting with this bottom stage here, which worked out wonders because it not only was it able to get us all the way up above Kerbin's atmosphere, but it was also able to get us around Kerbin, and a little bit actually to get to Duna, which I had to, with the trajectory stuff. I always forget exactly what's the correct spot for where Duna has to be and where Kerbin has to be. It's kind of like a rough estimate. Obviously, with Duna being farther from Kerbal than Kerbin is, you have to ensure that Duna is ahead of Kerbin by quite a bit. By quite a bit. As you can see, I'm in orbit here, and then I start to do my maneuver node. So you can see that Duna is actually ahead of me by quite a substantial amount. So then I see that I have an encounter there, but I'm like, no, that's not the right spot. So then I speed up time as fast as I can, and so that way I can catch up with the Duna. Since Kerbin's orbiting faster around Kerbal, since it's closer to it, we're able to go a little bit faster. And then I slow down time, and then I try it again. And then I get to a really good spot where I'm really close to it. So then I just try to tweak my trajectory as best as I can until I get an actual encounter with it, because we're pretty much just running into Duna pretty much. And we're going to be going faster to run into it because we're still going to be closer to Kerbal than Duna is. That's pretty much just how physics work. If you're closer to a large object that you're orbiting, you're going to be orbiting faster. That's like if you take your arms and you do, like if you're skiing or something, take your arms out while you're spinning, you're going to be slower, but then when you take your arms in, you're going to be spinning faster. Just think of that as like planets or any celestial bodies that's near either that's orbiting a planet or orbiting a star. The closer they are, the faster they're going to spin around. I guess spin as in like, making orbits or revolutions around. And the farther away, you're going to be slower. It's going to be a lot slower. That's why like Joule, Erlem, Nidon, Plock, like all those are super slow because they're really far away. Same with Dres. Dres is pretty slow as well. But the gas giants, they move tremendously slow. But I get my trajectory there, and then I had to tweak it again in order for me to get to the correct position. And then I start lowering my, I believe I did normal to go down. I always get those confused as to which ones I need, so I always tweak them. And then I try to get as close as I can to Duna without crashing into it and without going into kind of a danger position or danger height within its atmosphere. So then I get between like 15 to 17,000 there eventually, and I'm just like, you know what, that's perfect. That's great. We'll do that. So then I speed up time until we get to my maneuver node, and then we burn to that. And yeah, things work out pretty well there. And as I continue, I think at one point, as I speed up time and I warp over to Duna, or at least one position that I made first. I had to tweak it again, which was weird, which you'll probably see in a moment. But it was nothing too crazy. It wasn't as if something I had to do like significant burns for. And even if I did, I had plenty of fuel, but it wasn't anything like that at all. It was just being silly, pretty much. As like Kerbal can be like that, the Kraken can work in mysterious ways. It can either be very crazy, where your rockets just explode out of nowhere, or it could be pretty slight, in meaning that you just have to change your trajectory just slightly. Because you can see that I'm turning my craft here to make sure that I'm turned in the right position in order to go forward. And I didn't go prograde. I actually wanted to go turn towards radial, only because it's actually more efficient to do it that way, to just scooch your periapsis a little bit more. But here we go. We go down into Duna's atmosphere, and you get really close to it. And then I start speeding up time. I just pretty much see that, I'm like, do I have to burn for this? Do I not have to? And you can see that I retracted my relay antenna, and you can see that we're starting to burn. But the thing is that you could see, once I go back into that view there, you can see that nothing's getting damaged. Nothing's damaged at all. And then you can also see our blue line as I'm going back and forth. We're actually low enough for us to not even have to burn at all and get into orbit around Duna. Duna is super easy to do aerobraking on. Eve is really hard, but Duna is really easy. And I mean, you could say like the gas giants are pretty easy as well, because you don't need to be that far down, but they could be very dangerous. So then I decided to decouple the bottom part there of that stage, so that way I can slow down even more significantly. And then I start to get closer to the surface, and we slow down even more. So then I decided to manually start deploying the chutes, because I wanted to make sure that they were going to deploy at the right time. And the way that I also had the staging set up was, if I were to press space, it would have decoupled that bottom part there, so I wouldn't really slow down that much. And I didn't want to land on the nighttime side of Duna, because I wanted to be able to see, and I wanted you guys to be able to see. I mean, I could have turned up the brightness a little bit, but I didn't want to do that to you guys. I wanted to just you know, make sure that you guys get to see everything that's going on. Unlike the Jewel mission that I did, where literally just falling into a void of darkness, not being able to see it because I was falling through the nighttime side of Jewel, which was unfortunate, like the entire time. But there goes the parachutes, and the one side of them was able to deploy, and then I had to manually deploy the other side. They get deployed, but we're actually not going slow enough, so that's what the bottom stage is there for. But I thought, like, well, let me just get rid of the weight here and see what happens. So then I also bring out the relay antenna again, so I can have a little bit more control, I guess. And we're going really fast. We're going above 20 meters per second towards the ground. So I'm like, oh, okay, nope. I was going a little too fast for comfort there, but don't worry, I try it again, and we actually get there I think we actually get there in time. So I'm actually going to hand it over to the real Savvy for a moment. So I hope you guys are ready for that one, because this time we don't have those mistakes. So I'll hand it over to him in just a moment. All right, all right, all right, all right. Flip, 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 flip. Run a hill, run a hill, run a hill. And there we go. We did it. Yes. Finally. Oh, that was successful. Oh my gosh. Bit of a bumpy ride, but we did it. I'm sure there's definitely better ways to have these land, but like I said, with bigger parachutes, it probably would have been better. But we can let off the brakes here, and we could just go and drive around now. Look at that. But we gotta be careful, because we are on hills. So I don't want to hit anything. And I think that's a rock over there that we can scan, which is pretty cool. So let's go over there. Let's drive over there and see what we can scan real quick, shall we? because I really want to see what it's about. But I'm so happy I actually landed this thing on the surface. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy. And that turned out really nice. That mission was really, really good, for sure. I need to brake. Ooh, careful. Careful with those brakes now. If we brake too fast, then we're going to flip over. And we don't want that to happen. We're kind of front heavy based on the scanner that we were using here. Ooh. Yeah, you can see how much forward momentum we're getting by just braking there. I think, am I close enough to... Yep. Duna meteorite. Right, let's scan this thing. I'm glad I put the tires much lower because of the scanner. But let's see what we get from this. Yep. Laser it. And then drill it. There you go. Magnifying glass. Let's see. Duna's thin atmosphere does little to stop these meteorites from crashing into it and scattering over its surface. While we did come to Duna to study the planet itself, why not stop to sample composition of another celestial body as well? Your scan has collected all the details possible. Congratulations. Yep. Which that probably would give you like a ton of science. And then there's also the blueberries, but I don't think I see any nearby. Yeah, I don't see any nearby, unfortunately. But that's a mission success right there, guys. I am very happy that we were able to do this. And I hope you guys are happy that this became a successful mission. We had some hiccups there, but that was okay. What's Kerbal Space Program without a couple of hiccups, you know? But if you guys want to see more of these rover missions, we could do one for Ike. We could probably do one for, well, it's not going to work for Jewel and uh, Erlum or Nidal, any of the gas giants, but any of its moons like Tylo or maybe Elu. Elu is very far out there, so we could do that as well. But yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, be sure to leave a like if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate that. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well because it lets me know you guys enjoy the content on the channel and would like to see more. I also give a shout out to all of my channel members whose names I put up on the screen right now. If you are interested in using exclusive emotes during live streams or are interested in exclusive content on the channel, be sure to hit that join button down below and become a Savvy Superstar or Savvy Specialist today. I've been Savvy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. See you later.